Welcome in to St0ner Sports Radio, officially episode number 60, but this will be our March Madness St0ner Sports Radio bracketology episode. Joining me, as usual, is friend and co-host Zach Huffman. We are going to take you through each region. We will break it down for you. The episode will be live just in time for you to get all 25 entries that ESPN allows snuck into the pool of the possible perfect bracket. Zach, how are we doing on this wacky Wednesday here inside St0ner Sports Radio Studios? Not a normal day for us, but it's one of the best times of the year.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like what you said earlier, 11 a.m. tomorrow. We're getting hot and heavy.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. I mean, obviously first four going on right now and happening, but
Colorado State, let's go Colorado State yesterday.
I mean, again, we'll touch that because that's one of those teams that I personally think has a chance to go deep in this tournament. But let's go ahead and just kick it off here. We're going to start off with each region. We're going to walk you through each pick. We're going to kind of, we're going to jog a little bit. Some of them don't need any explanation. Some of them we might disagree on. Some of them are going to be a little bit of statistical fisticuffs in between. Some teams here and there. We're going to start with the East region. 116 UConn Stetson here. I don't think there's really much to talk about here. This is going to be UConn just absolutely dominating this Stetson team. This is not a Purdue type situation with UConn. They are legit. They don't mess around. With the way they handled Marquette every single time they played them this season should be enough to look at this team and think that Stetson's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. The only thing that could stop UConn, I guess, and I wouldn't say stop because Stetson's defense is trash, but they got some good shooters. Stetson gets hot, you never know. But yeah, I mean, over 25% of brackets on ESPN have UConn winning the whole thing. So I don't think there's, I mean, maybe there's a handful of brackets that have Stetson over here, but no chance, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a valiant effort, right? I don't think that, here's the thing about 16 seeds, right? We saw what happened to Purdue, right? Very abnormal, very not, Fairleigh Dickinson shooting out of their minds, but in the same token, Purdue not shooting very well, right? You look at the UMBC game against Virginia, the difference there is Virginia was never built to come from behind with that Tony Bennett offense. He runs too slow of an offense. Once you get down double-digit points, you're kind of screwed, and you saw that happening yesterday against Colorado State. It just took a double-digit lead, and that team imploded because they just play at such a snail's pace that coming back from something like that against a team that plays legitimate defense like Colorado State does, it's not going to bode well for you. So I think this is a pretty obvious push forward for the number one, and you're not going to be filling out a bracket with Stetson getting into the second round here.
Man, but the amount of brackets that would be busted.
Oh,
if Stetson pulled it off. I don't know.
Astronomical.
There'd probably be like 100 left, maybe.
Maybe. Moving on to the 8-9 here, Zach. FAU and Northwestern. When you look at Florida Atlantic, you're talking about a team last season that got to the Final Four, made that push to possibly play in the national championship, and if it wasn't for a buzzer-beating shot, they would have gone. And you look at Northwestern, this is one of those cases where they're just a really hot team, right? They're not a team that at the beginning of the year you were like, oh, tournament team. But as the season grew along and you had some of those marquee wins that they had shaping kind of where they are here, what's your kind of breakdown of this game? Because I have FAU moving on here against the Wildcats, but this is one of those 8-9 matchups, Zach, that I feel like could go either way depending on who's having a better shooting outing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm going FAU just because I believe in their coaching. Final Four appearance last year. Still going to have some good stuff up his sleeve. I would take FAU, but I'm not mad about taking Northwestern either.
If I would have said Northwestern, you're not gonna be like, "What the hell are you thinking?"
Yeah, because this was probably the hardest pick of my bracket, first round, right? because I'm looking at FAU and I'm like, most people probably picking Northwestern here just off of it's FAU, but um, that's a real team, and
Yeah.
I don't think people are putting it away. I have the record pulled up right here. I mean, they're 25-8 in the year, 14-4 in the AAC. I mean,
And John L. Davis is legit. I mean, that's an NBA player. I'm not even joking. That's an NBA. That's an NBA guy. He might not be a starter in the NBA, but he's going to be
yeah,
useful to a
NBA
team in
guy.
the league.
So looking at the numbers here, we have a Sweet 16 projected chance of 8%
It's pretty high.
for FAU and a 1% chance of the Final Four. The betting odds for the title is plus 10,000.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean,
But listen to
when
this.
you're in the same bracket as UConn, you're not going to get great great odds.
Listen to this. The numbers favor Northwestern here. We have a 16 or 10 chance to make the Sweet 16 and a 1.6% chance to make the Final Four. A little bit better than FAU. However, title odds twice as worse, plus 20,000. I mean,
It pays
I don't
off
know
to
what I don't know.
it pays off to have been there. The experience of getting to the Final Four paying off is kind of probably why that number is the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
So next on the list here is the 5-12 matchup, San Diego State and UAB here. UAB, another bid stealer here, wasn't supposed to be here. Kind of snuck their way in
Stole it
by
from OU.
winning. Yeah, from winning. They snuck in as an automatic bid by winning their conference tournament. San Diego State struggled recently against some teams that they probably should not have. You look at the losses against Boise State, UNLV, and most recently the New Mexico Lobos, who they had beat by 11 earlier in the month. But in the tournament, just couldn't hack it and lose by 7, and that's why you find New Mexico where they're at in this tournament as well. Um, normally these 5-12 matchups, right? You've got to give the 12 kind of their due, but when you look at UAB, Zach, as I said, not supposed to be here, not a team that coming in it has the talent level to hang with San Diego State. I think you have to push the Aztecs through here because UAB may be hot, but they're not NCAA tournament hot. They're whatever conference they're in hot.
Yeah, they're in the or mountain. Jeez.
Yeah,
I guess that you always got to pick a 12 seed, right?
yeah,
You
and this
always
is
have to pick at least
yeah,
one, and
but
this
this
is
is
not
it.
one.
Yeah, this is
It
not
is
it.
San Diego State, right? I'm not wrong on that. San Diego State championship game, right?
Well, you were cutting out. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I'm not wrong on the fact that pretty sure San Diego State, yeah, the final last year. I
Yeah,
mean, this is a real team. This is a coach. He's been to what I think tournaments. I mean, this is an experience. I not lie, my second bracket has UAB winning this one though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and some
Well,
brackets are gonna have that. No offense to San Diego State.
interesting Cinderella
Yeah, yeah. You. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
State.
Well, wait. What were you saying? Yeah, I can't hear you at all. It's out. It's done. It's cooked. It's cooked. Cooked. Headset's cooked, folks. The headset is absolutely cooked. Um, Look, I mean, I think what Zach was trying to say was just kind of like think about UAB as one of those teams that like it can happen, but you're not it's they're not the one that I would latch onto as the 12 coming into this. Um,
You hearing?
okay, I can hear you a little bit better now.
What is going on? It's acting up today.
Yeah, the Gremlins. The Gremlins are taking over the
Yeah, it must
electronics
be.
here in one of the most important episodes of the season. It's
What
only
I was saying.
yeah
Oh, sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
What I was 12 seed that we are riding is McNeese.
Mm. Okay, so you're riding the McNeese train. Okay, I can respect it. I can respect it.
At but I respect it.
Yeah. Um. So I think we both have San Diego State probably. in most likelihood moving on in that one. Next matchup is the 4 seed Auburn and the 13 seed Yale. I got to catch a little bit of the Ivy League championship game, obviously coming down to the buzzer beater that Yale hit to beat Brown, who was red hot out of the Ivy League. But I think this was a better outcome for the Ivy League as a whole, because I think that if you would have Brown here instead of Yale, you're not going to be competitive at all with Auburn. And when you look at Yale right now, are they a 13 seed that could give Auburn trouble? Only if the outside shooting is hot. Mahoney is hot. If Paladikis or whatever that other guy's name is, that's super good um, from three. I would have to see what exactly the name is um, for him, but or how to pronounce it properly. But they've got two shooters from the outside that they get hot. Auburn could be in for a long afternoon. How do you feel about the Bulldogs in this matchup? And is this one that you would probably have as an upset on a couple?
I would actually have this as a upset on a few brackets. Now I'm gonna completely be honest here. My second bracket has Auburn winning the whole damn thing. Um, However, Auburn is being carried by their coaching, and that's something that people don't want to talk about. They don't have a lot of talent. When and there have been many this year where we've seen Auburn kind of just flounder out there, despite the fact that they're running perfect plays and everything, because they don't have the talent that some of these other bid schools have. Are they more talented than Yale? Yes, by far. Um, but this isn't the same thing as like a UConn playing Yale. I mean, this is a coaching battle. I think this is a chess match that's about to happen here. And all I'm saying is that Yale, high IQ players, we know they're high IQ at Yale. Uh, they shoot the ball well. So they're not great on defense. They shoot around 52%, I think, is their effective field goal range or field goal.
Percentage? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, geez. And I was about to say chance, and I was like, that's not the word. But yeah, I mean, I'm not picking Yale here, but if you're having filling out a fun bracket, throw it in.
Yeah, I think that you wouldn't be out of your mind, because it would just take one bad shooting afternoon by the Tigers, and Yale's top scorers being able to hit from distance, and I think it would be GG's for War Eagle. So don't be surprised if that's what happens um, come Friday, but don't lean on it too heavily here. But I think that could be a game that could be tight down the stretch that you're going to want in one of
Mhm.
your four boxes.
It's the turnover battle. It's gonna
Yes.
happen. It's gonna ruin that game. And Yale is smart with the ball.
Yeah, usually smart with the
Yeah,
ball. So I think both of us agree that most likely Auburn moving on in that matchup just due to being out, being more talented. But I would definitely make a bracket with Yale winning that game because you never know. And like you said, this is not a super talented Auburn team. This is like you said, a team that's carried by its coaching. They run good plays, they run good sets. It's the execution that you have to worry about when it comes
mhm,
to the Tigers. Another
yeah.
game that I'm excited about is BYU and Duquesne. This is a 6-11 matchup here. BYU is kind of one of those teams, Zach, where if they get hot, any team is in trouble. I don't care who you
Oh
are.
yeah.
I mean, this is one of those teams where if you're a UConn fan, you do not want to see BYU in the Elite Eight. You do not want to see them because if they are there for one reason. It is because they are smoking hot from three, and they can get like that. But we saw them lose to Oklahoma State. They were ice cold from distance. They can do that as well. So they go as the 3-point shot goes, and the way Duquesne defends the perimeter is going to really dictate kind of the effectiveness of BYU's offense and how far they're able to be carried by their shooting in this tournament. But they are one of those teams, Zach, that don't be surprised if some people have them going to the Elite Eight or, in fact, beating UConn and going to the Final Four or just beating whoever beat UConn prior and heading to the Final Four if you have a bracket that's even more crazy.
Yeah. Quick side note: is every BYU team the same every year?
I mean,
I mean,
it seems like that's their mantra, right? Shoot from distance, have a guy down low that can rebound offensively and kick it back out. That seems to be kind of the culture. Yeah, you're probably right in hitting the nail on the head there.
like it just I BYU fans for some. reason. I don't know why that happens here in Oklahoma. Um, but every one of them says the same thing about their BYU teams, and that's that they get hot deep, and that's pretty much all they can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously not the most athletic bunch. You know, we need a Fredette situation.
Yeah, not a lot of diversity in that starting lineup. Um,
Yeah, like
but
we're not going to beat around the bush here. They're not dunking the ball that often at
yeah,
BYU.
um,
Like, so we're gonna need like shooting and shooting only, because they're not gonna get in the lane.
no, that did not. No, they have one guy that penetrates pretty well, but they, like you said, for the most part, this is a jump shooting team. But I do have them easily getting past Duquesne. I don't think this is going to be a problem, and I think that really is to credit the Big 12 and the kind of the competition that they have had all season long during conference play. I think it really preps you for the tournament, and not just with them, with every team from the Big 12 in this tournament. I think no matter what their seed is, you have to understand that this is one of the best conferences in basketball currently, and you have to understand that whether or not these teams are blowing each other out by 20, or the shame that Houston made Kansas feel, does not mean that Kansas isn't going to go out there and smoke some teams, even without one of their best players, who announced today he will not be participating in March Madness due to injury. So I mean, I think you have to
Mhm,
take the strength of schedule into effect here, and I think BYU easily skates by here and surprises some people who probably think that, like most, they're unathletic and just shoot from distance, and if they had a bad day, it's over. I think if even if they shoot bad, they have a better team here.
um, I agree that they have the better team. I think we're at a point of controversy now, though, because I got Duquesne.
Explain.
They're hot. They're very hot. They're on an 8-game win streak. I don't think their current coach has never won in the tournament, but has
Well,
been
okay, okay. I guess that goes back to like not like in the regular
strength of
season. You're
schedule.
you're 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 counting conference tournament too, because as far
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
like as
yeah,
far as before that, they were 4-4 heading into conference tournament. I just want
yeah,
to
yeah,
point
yeah.
that out. So yeah,
Yeah, but they're hot right now, is what I
they've won
mean.
eight
And
straight, including conference tournament.
are they
Yes.
are they going to carry that in? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. BYU is a good matchup for them though, because they are really good on ball guards. So it's BYU is obviously going to be like uh, swinging it all the way around, pretty much for 24 seconds. But or I guess 30, I think it is
Yeah.
technically in the NCAA or whatever. But they're just going to swing that ball around, and as long as Duquesne can, continue to play man coverage and not try to get into any weird zones, not try to play like a 3-2 or anything, man on man, stay on the perimeter, don't let BYU get hot from three, and try to get in the passing lanes. And Duquesne has an easy shot to win this thing. So I actually have Duquesne in both of my brackets that I've filled out so far, winning this matchup, and that's I'd take them in this matchup in most of my brackets.
I mean, and if that's the one you want to go with as the 6-11 upset, I'm not gonna fight you on it.
Yeah.
I think that that's a reasonable one because of, like you said, the on ball defense is going to be important here. If they can play the tight defense like they've been accustomed to playing these last few games, I think that that's going to be an issue for BYU for sure. Is if they can't get any separation. Um,
Mhm.
but I
Interesting fact though, just like reading on this thing right here, they Duquesne ranks 284th in height,
yeah, they're short.
um, which is very beneficial for BYU.
Yeah,
So
so
not going to be able to block as many shots from three. You're going to be able to shoot over them, and the little amount of paint skill that they do have, at BYU, probably a favorable matchup for them in the paint.
yeah, don't be surprised if we see more points in the paint from BYU than threes taken in a game where they should dominate physically. But
And you probably wouldn't say that about pretty much any other
yeah,
team on this list.
no,
So like,
100%,
and that's
100%.
that's kind of why this matchup is so interesting to me.
Yeah, but that's why I've got BYU. There's multiple facets here, but that's why I've got them. I understand your argument here, but I think with your argument, it's gonna depend on if Duquesne can turn them over with that on the ball
Hmm.
defense. If you're just playing them tight and then they're just dumping it inside and dunking over you because you just got a smaller center or four that can't guard their big, I think that that's not going to really matter. But I think that if they can turn the ball over and BYU shoots bad, yeah, I could see Duquesne advancing, but I think that's a lot to ask of Duquesne when it comes to the way I feel about BYU coming into this tournament.
So this will be the one definitely going to have to tune into.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to the 314 here, Morehead State, Illinois. Look, Morehead State. This is not your Morehead State of the past. This is a Morehead State team that's okay. Um, but I mean, Terrence Shannon is a monster, and I don't think that Morehead State has anybody on their team that can really, keep up. Um, Morehead State's a great rebounding team. Um, they are great on the ball, just like Duquesne. They're good on the ball. Um, but again, this is a team that's bigger than Morehead State overall, and
It,
but it's
yeah,
going to
it doesn't
depend
make
on
sense
it's
for
it's going to
Morehead.
depend on turnovers here because Illinois had a problem with turnovers, and I think that's what's going to get them in the next round. But I just don't think it's going to matter for this opening round. I think the Illini probably roll in this one. Unfortunately for Oklahoma State fans here that don't really prefer Brad Underwood. I mean, this is an Illini team that will go as the turnovers go, but I don't know if you could turn the ball over enough against this Eagles team to lose unless you were doing it every possession.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to here. There's Morehead State. Honestly, they don't have a chance.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you. Um,
Yeah.
Moving on to the 7-10 here. This is the one where I have Drake beating Washington State here in this. I love the Bulldogs here. I think they've got a fantastic shot of beating the Cougars because of how I feel about the Pac 12, right? This comes down to what you think Washington State is as a team, right? They didn't win their conference tournament. We know that, obviously. At least I do.
Mhm.
They're kind of a middle of the pack in talent when you think about the Pac-12, even teams that didn't make it. I mean, you look at teams like, you know, like USC and UCLA, teams that aren't in this tournament. I think they had talent, but I don't think they really congealed, and I think that's kind of what happened with those two teams and why they weren't very successful this season. And I think that was to the Cougars' benefit. What are your thoughts on this matchup between the 7 and the 10 here in the East?
Just a better team. Here's, here's what I'll say about Washington State. Very balanced off. Am I cutting out?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, give me a second.
All right, we're back and locked in here. What I
I'm
was
sorry, my
saying
phone
about
was freaking
Drake.
out, but it was an Amber Alert. No one was calling me.
Yeah, I just got one too.
Yeah, so
And
I
come on, I'm already changed. I was
oh,
still cutting out.
yeah. I think
What
it's
is
I
going
think the thing is
on?
dying. um, but uh, but no, I think this is a perfect spot here. Um, Tucker DeVries, fantastic. Aiden Wright, fantastic for the Bulldogs. Isaac Jones is good. Miles Rice, also a guy for the Cougars that um, will be comparable statistically to both of these guys. DeVries carries this team offensively, averages over 20 a game. This is a team that's also on a hot streak here, and they beat Indiana State, beat Bradley 3 times in a row, uh, and then lost to Indiana State by 8. Um, but in their last, you know, in their last 10 games, they've lost 1 time. Um, I think that's a big, big, big thing. Defensively is where you're going to find problems with Drake is defensively. They lack size, and it's kind of one of those things where um, it's bad. But as far as like limiting second chance opportunities for teams, they're really good. So it's kind of an interesting combination because they're not very big, but you're only probably going to have one possession where you're going to have a chance to score on this team offensively. And that doesn't really play into the strength of Washington State at all. Um, the foul trouble for their big guy underneath is also going to be interesting because that kind of dictates how they do rebounding the basketball defensively. And I think that that's a huge thing when it comes to kind of how everything is encompassing the defensive strategy and the defensive mindset that this Bulldogs team has. What were you saying?
All right, are we locked in?
We're locked in.
All right, good. I don't know what was happening, but maybe these just need a good charge or something. I don't know. Um, what I was saying about Washington State, very well coached team, very well coached team. They're monsters. I think what I've read about them, um, top 50 in offense and defense, very balanced. Um, they cannot shoot free throws. Cannot shoot free throws. They shoot 70% as a team
Bad.
from the free throw line. That's terrible. That's terrible. So here's what I'm doing if I'm Drake. They're not getting any easy layups, and they're going to have to earn it at the free throw line. And if you're making 70% of your free throws, I'm taking that. Because one, refs aren't going to call near as many fouls in March Madness, right?
Especially in a 7-10 game.
Yeah, like especially in a 7-10 game. So you're just going to have to make it egregious. You're going to have a Shaq here. You cannot. You want Washington State to shoot free throws, and I think if Washington State finishes with less than 30 free throw attempts, I'll be mad.
I mean, yeah, as far as preventing easy baskets, I think that would be the thing. But the problem is what I was saying. It was their big guy that they use to primarily rebound defensively is horrid at picking up fouls. He's notorious at getting into foul trouble for the Bulldogs. But to reiterate your point, though, Drake is one of the best teams in the country in preventing second chance opportunities, even though they're undersized. Which is and that's because of this particular player being able to grab rebounds and box out and be physical. And when he's in foul trouble, that really hurts the Bulldogs. So again, like you said, they're probably not going to call a lot of fouls. They're probably going to be tight on the whistle. I think that they have to take advantage of that. And I think this is the perfect spot here to have a 10 upset a 7. So don't be afraid to pull that trigger on this one. I think this is one that you could almost guarantee just because of the style of basketball that Drake plays and how it just is not compatible to how Washington State plays basketball.
Yeah. And just to reiterate the point about Drake, fouling as often as they can, their defense inside the arc is pretty terrible. And what I'm seeing right here, 52% from inside the arc, not something you want to see if you're Drake. So, reiterating my point,
hack the shit,
foul the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Foul the shit out of them inside the arc. Do not let them have any buckets. Get in the landing zone, cause an ACL or something. I don't know. But make Washington State go to the line. Make them shoot 35, 40 free throws.
Yeah. I think you're right on track there. Last one here for the East, Iowa State, South Dakota State. We know Iowa State has had a problem in the past with not living up to expectations and losing to teams from Dakotas. I know it was North Dakota State last time they lost in this first round to a Dakota, but that doesn't mean that that's not a problem for them. With South Dakota State, Zach, we kind of know their deal, right? I mean, this is, again, one of those outside shooting teams that goes as their backcourt goes. And Iowa State relies on, forcing turnovers and having their defense kind of create their offense. They don't really blow out a lot of teams. They don't shoot well from beyond the arc. It's just, they'll go as Lipsy and Gilbert can carry them. I mean, those are their backcourt guys. And if South Dakota State decides they want to shoot the ball super well, it could spell trouble. But I think the key here is the defense. And I think the defense is locked down, and I don't think they're going to have a problem in this round. I think that this is a game that Iowa State can easily win here if they just continue to play the defensive intensity that they have all season long.
Yeah. And you're right. Iowa State, they don't blow out a lot of teams. You don't look at them, you don't watch them play and think, oh, this is a national title contender. But They are. And the reason I say that is just one team they did blow out was in a very stakes heavy game, the Big 12 tournament, and they blew out Houston, who is the second most picked choice to win the national title on the ESPN app, right? They blew out Houston and they only let them score 41 points. That is a point less than Virginia scored against Colorado State for everyone making fun of Virginia, right? Um, Houston on fraud alert, I have them losing in the Sweet 16.
Well, hey, and I don't think anybody would be surprised with that outcome as well. But refocusing back into Iowa State here, the main reason they were able to get that kind of offensive headway against Houston was because of the defense, right? Houston shot the ball at like 20% the whole entire game. Just couldn't shoot the basketball. And when you talk about a team like South Dakota State, they rely on their shooting mainly from the outside. It's not a good combination for the Jackrabbits. I think they're screwed, and I think the Cyclones easily move forward and are not a 2 seed that's in danger this year.
Yep, 100% agree. But because we say that and because we are so confident that Iowa State will win, please put your money on South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen because we've been through enough marches to know.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Iowa State and when they've been a higher than a 4 seed.
Yeah.
So now back to the top here, Zach. We're into the round of 32 here in the East. UConn and FAU is kind of what we agreed with would be the most likely scenario here. Where do you see this game going? Is this an 8 seed FAU team that could find themselves in a situation where they're going to have a chance here, or is UConn just going to lay the hammer down against a team that a lot of people feel like is just inferior when it comes to talent and the way that they play basketball in the Owls?
If any team's going to knock out UConn before Auburn can, I think that's how the bracket works. If anyone's going to knock out UConn before Auburn, it's FAU. Just because of their 100% because of their coaching. like I said, this has nothing to do with the talent on the team.
Yeah, John L. Davis would have to score like 35 to 40 points, if he's going to be the one to do this. I think it's going to come down to, like you said, UConn. They're really good, right? I mean, this is a team that has proven itself, for most of the last month and a half. I mean, yes, you have the loss against Kansas early on this season, and that you people can point that out. But FAU, they're kind of inconsistent too, right? I mean, you lose to Memphis, who isn't a fantastic team. You can excuse the loss to Illinois because it's Illinois, but the win against Arizona is what stands out to me when you talk about this Florida Atlantic team, because that proves right there they can hang with the big boys, which I don't think UConn can be comfortable in this game. And like you said, if it's not Auburn, it's this FAU team in the second round, and I don't think UConn wants to see them at all. They would much rather see Northwestern, because I think they would kick the shit out of the Wildcats.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, FAU probably ending here in the second round. I'd put $1 million on UConn if I could. But shit, Final Four. I mean, FAU made it to the Final Four last year. They have good coaching. John L. Davis is good. And it's not UConn. It's just not. I mean, it's just not UConn. And honestly, if this were if FAU was going against any other team in this bracket on this side of the bracket,
yeah, it'd be more 60-40 than 80-20 or 70-30.
Yeah, like I might pick FAU. I'd probably pick FAU against Iowa State.
Yeah, 100%. I think you'd have a lot of people doing that.
So, tough matchup for FAU. Sucks that they have to have that matchup. But hey, this is what Cinderella runs are for.
Yeah.
No one wants to believe you. Think about Farley Dickinson.
Yeah.
Speaking of, real quick, because I don't want to go too off topic here, but speaking of Farley Dickinson, have you seen the trend about upsets in March Madness in the first round all having something to do with dicks in their name?
Yeah. And that's why please direct your attention to Longwood. You look at St. Peter's, you look at Fairleigh Dickinson, you look at what was the other one they mentioned? It was crap.
Yeah, I remember.
St. Peter's. Riley Dickinson. Boy, I'm gonna kill myself for not knowing this, but you know what I'm talking about. Gemini. I don't know why I can't remember. But those were two out of the three that have happened in the last 4 years, and they've all had some phallic, you know, uh, slang or something like that. And so if you wanted to go with that trend, Longwood would be the pick. Houston's a tough hill to climb. But yeah, I did see that.
Houston's frauds.
But how fraudulent is the question? And I don't think it's
Not fraudulent enough to lose Longwood.
I know, yeah, I don't think it's Longwood fraudulent, but
Yeah.
it could get hairy. But refocusing back here, I think we both agree UConn probably moves on against FAU, but I think that game could be tight for most of it. I think in the end, I think you're looking at the last 5 minutes of this game being the difference, and I think it's going to end with a UConn double-digit run probably. I think that's just kind of where the vibes kind of feel right now.
Yeah, there's going to be a moment where we see UConn really lock in.
Yeah,
and I mean that literally. They're just going to lock in. Right, last 8 minutes, they're going to be dialed, and it's going to be like a 26-2 run.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of in agreement on that. The next game here in the round of 32 in the East is San Diego State and Auburn. Look, this is a game again where it's going to come down to coaching execution. Both of these teams, talent-wise, I'm going to say it, they're pretty even. They've got a couple guys on each side of the ball that can produce for you offensively, and the rest of it is coaching and defense. And I think that this is, a 4-5 matchup here, Zach, where as much as you want to latch onto the Tigers here, this is a tough draw for them if it's San Diego State and not UAB sitting in front of them.
Yeah. I 100% agree. If Auburn wins this game, and this is how I had it in my bracket with Auburn winning the entire thing, if Auburn wins this matchup, they're going to the Final Four over UConn. San Diego State is a tough matchup, and I have them beating Auburn in my first bracket. I just have to default to one. San Diego State not as talented as Auburn, I would probably say.
I mean,
I don't know, maybe they are.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's more even because of the fact that, like you said, the coaching has propped up Auburn to where it is, right? And the SEC this season has not been fantastic. I mean,
the coaching is the same for San Diego State. Is kind of what I'm thinking. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Both these teams have two guys, right? That they rely on.
Yeah.
For Auburn, it's Broome. It's Broome and Waters are the two, or sorry, and Brooms and Williams for Auburn are the two you got to look at. And for San Diego State, it's Letty and Waters. Those are the two guys that direct the offensive flow in both of these games. And there's only one guy on that court that averages over 20, and it's not playing for Auburn. And so I think you have to understand that unless Auburn can completely lock down Letty, which even if he does, there's guys like Trammell and other guys for the Aztecs that are out there that can produce offensively if you just leave them alone and double Letty, and I think that'll probably be the case. And I think that in the end, I think that benefits the Aztecs because I think overall they've got better talent, but it's just like you said, Auburn's been so elevated by their coaching. And the fact that the SEC has not been super difficult has elevated their seeding as well because it's like, oh, they're a top 4, SEC team, but like, what does that mean in comparison to the Big 12 and the ACC? I mean, and the ACC is even down this year, to be honest, and the Big 10's not super strong. The Big 12 is the best conference in the country.
Yeah, by far. One thing I'll say about San Diego State, they're going to need their March risers to really rise.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at Butler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Last year, that who rose for them in March. That's kind of who led what I think would maybe not a Cinderella run, but all the way to the title game. I'll call that a Cinderella. Why not?
Yeah, as a middle ranked team. Yeah, like they
were the 11. Were they 11?
No, I don't think they were that low.
I don't know. Maybe
I think they were the same. I think they were a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, and like middle of the pack, right? If their run is entirely dependent on that. If we see some March risers out of San Diego State, they will beat Auburn.
Yeah, I mean,
Because then they have three. Then they'll have three guys.
yeah,
And that's three is greater than two.
yeah. So I've got San Diego State advancing in mind. You do in your first one, so I think we're kind of in agreement on that. Moving on to this next matchup between BYU and Illinois. This one is again, this is an interesting 6-3 matchup here, where Illinois is the higher ranked team here. But at the rate that they turn the ball over, Zach, that could be a problem, because if BYU can hit those transition threes, or just get in transition in the first place and turn defense into offense, I mean, again, this comes down to, in my opinion, strength of schedule, and BYU has had a harder strength of schedule, and they've seen teams on a weekly basis better than this Illinois team, I think. I don't think that Illinois is a fantastic team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They're not great, but they should be BYU. I mean, unless we get a historic shooting night out of BYU, I don't think they're coming out of here. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see those Mormons go crazy. You know, well, everyone loved the Fredette run, but I don't see it. I think you're a lot higher on BYU than I am. I think most of the country's a lot higher on BYU than I am. So no fault to you, but I mean,
well, I think that has to do a lot with Terrence Shannon and Domask. I think those guys are a 1-2 punch that a lot of teams can't handle. And what I'm saying is, with the teams that BYU has seen, I don't think that two guys that are really good offensively, and Terrence Shannon is kind of a two-way guy. He's an NBA guy. He's a top 10 pick. I think we established that very early on in the season. I just don't know if he has a bad night. I think Gay could be in trouble. I think if BYU can somehow continue to shoot hot from distance and he has an off night, they could be in trouble. I do have Illinois advancing in my bracket here, but trust me, I have BYU going deep in one of these, and it's because if they get hot, who's going to stop these motherfuckers? And it's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to be able to do it. And that's the only reason why, if you want to latch on to BYU, latch on to them. And I think, like you said, a lot of the mainstream media and people are latching onto that because of the fact that they feel like, even though they've had a couple bad games against some less than desirable teams and taken some unexpected L's and shot the ball bad at times in the Big 12, I think this is a different animal. And I think that you can, at a neutral site, take advantage of not really, having familiarity with either team in the environment they're in.
Yeah, and BYU is also going to benefit from the fact that everyone always wants the upset. So they're going to be cheering for BYU in that game.
Yeah, no, there's good. Yeah, exactly. I think you are 100% correct. I do have Illinois moving on here in my bracket, but I think that this game could get scary for Illinois. So don't be surprised. This is another one of those don't be surprised kind of games here. But I think for the most part, if Illinois plays to the level that they have and Terrence Shannon plays at the level that he can, I think that BYU's in trouble and they go home.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. They're going to have to shoot 50% from three.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to have to shoot probably better than that all tournament long in order to get to where some people think that they could go. Which leads us to the final round of 32 game here in the East, Drake and Iowa State. Look, Drake's a fun story for the first round, but I think this is kind of where it ends, right? I mean, this is a team that it's a battle of the Iowa teams, if you believe it or not. This would be an Iowa team matchup, so I think the whole state would kind of be cooming over this matchup if both these Iowa teams are able to face each other in the second round. But I think it would not be surprising. What would be surprising is Drake moving on from this, Zach, because I think they're going to put so much effort into beating this Washington State team. I think that even a one-day break probably won't be enough for them to overcome what kind of defense they're going to experience with the smothering of this Cyclones defense.
Yeah, I agree. Iowa State's going to have to get their offense going, which struggled at times in the season. They don't really have that one guy that you can go to. So I don't have. I'm picking Iowa State, obviously, but Drake can make a run here. If there's an upset in the round of 32, I'm looking here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because Drake does have that guy, right? DeVries is that 20+ a point guy that is that, and Gilbert has been that at times for Iowa State, but not as consistently as DeVries has been for the Bulldogs. So I have Iowa State moving on as well here, but again, not a preferable matchup for Iowa State due to the fact that even though Drake, again, undersized, again, these are two Iowa defenses that have some upside. As bad as Drake is within the paint, like I said, they don't allow a lot of second chance opportunities. And with a team like Iowa State that has struggled offensively at times, that does not really bode well. But you just have to bank on the fact that talent kind of outshines here for the Cyclones, and that the better team here moves on. And I think that's kind of what we have here with Iowa State moving to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, 100%.
So Sweet 16 here in the East. Getting to the nitty gritty here, we've got UConn and San Diego State here. I think this is kind of where San Diego State's bubble should burst here. I think that, like you said, they're a decent team, but the matchups to this point will be favorable to them, and I think this is the one that'll get them. And I think UConn probably easily beats San Diego State, and it's not competitive, unfortunately. But it'll be what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's a little rematch, though.
Yeah, it is.
National title rematch.
Yeah, it is. National title 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I think the result will be unsurprisingly the same here. And it won't be close, and you'll see once again San Diego State bow out to the Huskies that move on. You agree, disagree? Nope, nothing to add there.
UConn beat the fuck out of them.
They killed them. I mean, it wasn't even close.
beat the fuck out of them.
I mean, granted, you did have Jordan Hawkins at the time, which was a huge a huge thing to have. But I mean, I think even without him, you're way more talented and more consistent than San Diego State's been all season.
And, UConn is just, they're so much better than everybody else.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It sucks. I mean, I'm sorry for the other teams. I hope UConn. I have UConn winning my official bracket because I love a Cinderella story. I guess I don't know, like the ESPN guys picking all 1 seeds. But UConn, 31? Yeah, 31-3, national title repeat. Feels right.
Feels right. Yeah. At least to this point that we're talking about, it feels right.
Yeah. We'll talk again after the round of 64.
Yeah.
When they lose to Stetson.
Yeah, it's like, well, we couldn't have been more wrong. Yeah, I mean, but that's March for you. So again, UConn moving on here to the Elite Eight here. The other matchup is Iowa State and Illinois. And I think, I mean, golly, this is one of those where it could go either way, and I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I think this is a very evenly matched matchup if it were to happen. You have, again, a single guy. Well, not really. Damask and Shannon make a good duo. I don't think Lipsy and Gilbert can compete with that. I'm going to be honest here, Zach. I like Illinois in this spot, and it's just because of the offensive consistency. It's not because they have a better defense. It's not because I think they're overall, the more hard-nosed, gritty team. I just think that hard-nosed and gritty can get you pretty far. But and the thing is, I feel weird saying it after the way they treated Houston. It just feels kind of disrespectful to be like, oh, well, Illinois is gonna, really pour it on. It's like, well, we just shut down, Shed and Cryer. Like what makes you think we can't shut down Shannon and Domask?
Shut down the second best team in the country.
Yeah, so I mean, I just don't know. I don't like Brad Underwood. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind here. It's tough, right? Because of the inconsistency of the offense for Iowa State.
We are on opposite sides of this one. I have Iowa State winning this game. Not really for any reason other than the fact that I think they play up and play down to their opponents. You saw that with Houston, but we also saw that with like other terrible teams that Iowa loses to. Or Iowa State, not Iowa.
Yeah.
I have Iowa State coming out of it. They have a better defense, I think. Illinois, probably, yes, more consistent offense. This is March. Anyone can get hot. So I'm kind of relying on Iowa State to create some turnovers, win the rebounding battle. And I think they could easily pull this one off. Now they could easily lose as well. I mean, this one was very tough for me to pick in my bracket because we had the same, we had the exact same bracket outside of me picking on this region, outside of me picking Duquesne instead of BYU. But yeah, I got Iowa State winning this one over Illinois. This one's gonna haunt me forever when I'm wrong on the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm I'm looking at my bracket right now, and I just changed it to Iowa State, and here's why. And here's why I changed it. I'll tell you right now. It's because of the defense, right? It's because of the defense, and here's why. Is because you look at the numbers here, and it's like, okay, Illinois averages 84 points a game. Well, on average, Iowa State, only allows 61 points on the year. And you look at the record of Illinois versus top 25 teams, they're 1-4. That's not good. I mean,
Yeah.
Iowa State's 6-5, which also isn't good, but it's a winning record. And again, you're playing a lot more top-ranked teams because it's the Big 12.
12, exactly.
So I think experience pays off. Give me Iowa State. I think this is going to be mainly chalk, a 1-2 matchup here in the Elite Eight, and I think UConn gets it done.
Yeah, 100%. UConn gets it done. Would love to see Iowa State make it there, but I don't think it's happening.
And that concludes your Eastern region, folks. I mean, it took us a little bit to get there, but we're there. So there's your East region. A little 45-minute breakdown. We're gonna have to kind of pick up the pace here, but I think we're giving you good content, so I'm not gonna really restrict myself too much here. Moving down to the western side of the region here, a region with the 1 seed being North Carolina. They're playing Wagner. Again, this is North Carolina all the way. Wagner's a good story, but I don't even think they should have won last night. So I think that you're just looking at the Seahawks kind of being happy to be here, and the Staten Island boys get absolutely torched against the Tar Heels, and it's just not a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. The most interesting thing I can say about Wagner is their coach is a former Seton Hall guy.
Okay, there you go. Hey, you gotta have something.
I mean, they're barely over 500 on the year.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? 16 and 15. This team got in over OU. Fuck me, dude.
Yeah, it's rough. Moving on to the next matchup here in the West, Mississippi State and Michigan State. Look, this is not a Michigan State team that is good. I'm sorry to tell you, but Michigan State is bad. This should be at OU as well in here instead of Michigan State. I'll go ahead and say it. They should have been in instead of Virginia as well. There's a lot of teams that OU should have been in over some of these teams, but there's a lot of teams that can make the same argument as well. I think that OU wasn't the only one that got snubbed, but I'm bringing it up because Zach is wallowing in pity over here because he got robbed, kind of.
It was the biggest snub, though. Not the only snub, but the biggest snub, and OU absolutely robbed.
Yeah, and there's too many bid stealers over conference championship weekend. Just too many. I mean, my Ducks stole your spot.
I'm not as mad about Oregon, but like. We should have been Oregon too.
I didn't think we were going to win anything. I thought Arizona was going to kick our ass, and what did we do? We kicked their ass. I don't know what the hell happened to Arizona, but I mean, it's par for the course for Arizona to not show up in a conference tournament, I guess. But this Michigan State team is not good. But the thing is Mississippi State's not good either, Zach. I mean, this is not pretty basketball that you'd be watching between this 8 and 9 seed, which is why I think it is one of those games that, like most 8 and 9 teams, it's going to be close, and it could go either way, and no one would be surprised here.
Yeah. I have Michigan State in this one. And like always, like it's always happened for Michigan State, it's solely because their coach is Tom Izzo. We have a guy that's been to, I think 3 or 4 tournaments, Mississippi State. What's his name? Hubbard. Or not Hubbard, that's their player. Chris Jans. I mean, sure. I'm just gonna take the guy that has 55 NCAA tournament wins.
Yeah, I took Michigan State here easily. I think that has to do with competition as well. I think the Big Ten is a little bit better than the SEC, but it's like super close. I don't think it's. I think it's a sliver better, and I think Michigan State's just a sliver. Yeah, they play good against teams they need to play good against, but that's what scares me about Mississippi State, because I think even they're going into it like, it's Mississippi State, we should handle this, and they probably think they should be a little, so I'm a little scared for the Spartans, but I picked them because, like you said, it's Tom Izzo. I think they're going to get cooked by North Carolina in the next round, but I think that this is one that they move on to get cooked.
Yeah, they should move on here, and I think they're just like Iowa State. They're going to play up and they're going to play down. Mississippi State, probably a worse team. Go into it like you are as the underdog. That's
Yeah.
that's how I would approach it. Where I'm going in thinking Mississippi State's better than us.
So we've got those two down. Here's the third team. It's St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. Now, this is one where I had trouble, right? This is a 12-5 where I watched Grand Canyon play a little bit. I kind of like their style, but I just feel like they're too offensively weak here. St. Mary's disappoints me only when they don't shoot the ball well. And I think that the problem they're going to face is going to be in the second round. I think they get the win over Grand Canyon here, Zach. I just think that Grand Canyon doesn't really have the offense. This is another one of those bid stealer teams that wasn't supposed to be here. And I think that you're going to see that pretty evidently. St. Mary's not really having a great year. I say that because even though Gonzaga had a down year, both of these teams are 5 seeds coming into this tournament, and I think that I think that kind of speaks volumes in a conference where coming into this season they were picked as heavy favorites to kind of have a stranglehold on their conference. What are your thoughts on this matchup, and do you see Grand Canyon moving on in any of your brackets, or is this strictly a St. Mary's W here?
Yeah, so I have St. Mary's here pretty strictly. So I was barely paying attention because Chet Holmgren just caught a body. Sorry, that's what that noise was. I thought someone sent it to me that, Chet just caught a body, and I'm not lying. You'll have to look at it on the side in a second. Absolute body. But yeah, St. Mary should blow through this one. I don't think anything of Grand Canyon at all. I barely knew they existed going into the tournament. I'm experienced. I feel like I'm repeating myself along a lot of these matchups, but experience is really what I think wins in March. That's why you usually see the same 8 teams going in and out, because it's all about coaching. And St. Mary's has a guy that has been in a few tournaments, so
yeah,
give it to him.
Yeah, I think this is the Gales' game to lose. I think they've got this one kind of sealed up. Alabama and Charleston, another matchup where I would never take Charleston. I think Alabama just kind of cruises in this one. This is probably one of the weaker brackets when it comes to lower seeds here. What are your thoughts on this? Is any chance that the Cougars of Charleston get it done?
I mean, no, but it's March, so I can't say no. That is how I feel about it. I don't like Alabama this year. They have a pretty subpar defense, in my opinion. I feel like they're too quick on offense. That's kind of how I feel about Alabama, and that they try to run this like 7-second offense that isn't really working for them, and I think that's just a coaching thing.
Oh,
so, like similar to Auburn, elevated seeding because in the SEC, not a great team. I have them probably losing in the round of 32, but they should clear this first one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the matchup here. It just doesn't really seem like Charleston's given much of a chance here. Moving on to a team that does have a chance here, though. It's New Mexico, the 11th seed, playing Clemson, the 6th seed. And this is another game where I have the Lobos here, Zach. I like the Lobos backcourt. I think they're super talented. I think that Clemson is just kind of just your mid-level. We just put you in here because you did okay in the ACC, and the ACC is okay. I don't really think that they're a 6 seed. I think realistically, Clemson's probably a 9-8 seed. They should probably be in the same category as like a Michigan State and Mississippi State. More Mississippi State than Michigan State, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this one?
I have New Mexico as well. We're picking all the same upsets, which means that we know what we're talking about. So that's good. But yeah, I have New Mexico in this one. Favorite thing about New Mexico, they play super quick, super quick. But they don't turn the ball over, and that's something that's a recipe for
disaster.
That's a recipe for a Final Four run. If we're going to talk about New Mexico, I have them in the Elite 8. But
Ooh, okay.
yeah, I have New Mexico going the distance. This is a team that if you match them up against a team like Houston, who's playing a lot slower, um, it's I think New Mexico could win that game.
Yeah,
This is a very talented team,
yeah.
and like
And they snuck in. They're a bid stealer. They're another bid stealer.
yeah, but they deserve it.
No, yeah, they did. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah, they deserve it, and they are a bid stealer. But my one of the I don't know. We're all looking at Jalen House, and that's a guy who can make a run, right?
No,
This is a guy that can make a Steph Curry, Buddy Hield type of run, you know. And I just mean not necessarily in the style. I just mean dragging the team.
yeah. Being the guy, yeah.
It's like absolutely dragging the team. I have New Mexico. I'm gonna have New Mexico in the next one too.
Baylor Colgate here. I have Baylor cruising. Colgate stinks. They're just not. They don't have a chance. I'm sorry. And you know, even if it's March, there's some of these teams where it's like they're just not the one. And I just think that Colgate's not it. Charleston's not it. Grand Canyon's not it. This Western region has a lot of lower double-digit seeds that just are inferior to their competition to the level of almost embarrassment, and that's not normally the case in some of these regions. And we just kind of are shining a light on this right now because as we move forward here, you'll see kind of the tone shift here. I think Baylor easily gets by.
Yep, I'm gonna have to agree with that. I
there's nothing to even really acknowledge, to be honest.
I mean, it's fucking Colgate.
Yeah, like you're gonna have to beat the toothpaste team, Scott Drew. Please do it for the love of God.
You want to hear what Colgate's title odds are?
50,000 to 1.
200,000 to 1.
Give me $10, baby. We're going in. Yeah, not happening. Yeah, not happening. If you want to throw your money into a hole, you just might as well just flush it down the toilet. No shot.
Yeah. And every time Colgate with this coach has gotten Langle lost every game.
Yeah, no chance. So moving on to the 7-10 here, Nevada Dayton. Dayton's kind of been one of those teams that they're an A10 team. My friend that I have that lives in Ohio has said that this is not a Dayton team that is fantastic. Because the A10 this year was not as good as it has been in the past, so you have to kind of judge your expectations on that. And when you look at the other side with Nevada, the Mountain West has been pretty good. So I have another 10 here, and I have Nevada moving on and beating Dayton, and only because of my insider information, not because it makes sense, not because people will tell you that's how it is, but it's because if someone I know that's locked into the A10, which is not a lot of people, are telling me that the A10 this year is not very good, and that means Dayton's not as good as they have been in the past when they've had the same kind of seeding number, I think I'm going to have to take Nevada to beat them. That's just my logic here.
Yeah, I respect that. I have Dayton. I think they have a better offense. They shoot the ball better. Nevada gets to the line a lot, more than any other team in the tournament, apparently. And I can respect that, and I think that a lot of their offense and a lot of their late game wins, where they're winning in the last 2 minutes, a lot more fouls are called. I'm not seeing that happen in the tournament. So I'm picking Dayton off the sole fact that I don't think Nevada's going to get the whistle.
Yeah, and here's the other thing you have to think about. These are the games I'm looking at here from Dayton that kind of scare me, right? Just not to sway you or anything, but you lose to VCU 49-47. You don't even put 50 on the board, and then you follow it up by beating them a month later, 91-86. So a complete flip-flop from not being able to score away from your home and then absolutely just torching your offense to 91 points at your home floor, but you allow 86 to a VCU team that, in my opinion, again, not very good. You lose to Houston by 14. That's probably par for the course. You're a 7 seed. I can get that. Losing to Richmond is unacceptable in my opinion. I don't think Richmond's very good. I think they got cooked in the first round of the NIT. So I mean, not a great loss there. You barely beat St. Bonaventure, who At first they're like, oh, they beat Oklahoma State, they're going to be decent. They're not very good. Okay, they're not.
Yeah,
The
come on.
The
Oklahoma
Bonnies are
cheat.
not good. They beat Cincinnati, which is something you can look at, but considering that was in December and also on the road, huge win for Dayton. But that's a better team. Cincinnati is not very good. They're okay, but I think that's a win I can wrap my mind around. Losing to Northwestern early on in the season as well, you don't think anything really of it, considering where Northwestern's at. But Northwestern's a lower seed than you, Dayton, and you lost by 5. So that's what kind of scares me about the Flyers. I think that they are just kind of too inconsistent. When you look at Nevada, it's like, oh, you lost to New Mexico, that makes sense. You lost to San Diego State, that makes sense. You beat TCU, you beat Utah State, you beat Boise State, you beat UNLV. I mean, they seem to just be more consistent, and that's why I chose the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Side note for anybody watching, while we're moving on to the next topic or the next matchup here, just look up Chet Holmgren stats for this game real quick. Moving on.
um, so round of 32 here in the West region, North Carolina, Michigan State. I have North Carolina winning this game. I don't think there's enough Tom Izzo in the world to prevent them from getting cooked.
Yeah,
Your thoughts here?
yeah, 100%.
Okay. I figured it was going to be a
It's a bad team.
yeah. Yeah.
It's a bad team, but they have a great coach,
Yeah.
and they're probably gonna win the first round against
Mississippi State. Yeah.
Mississippi State, like another inflated SEC team.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, nothing really to add. North Carolina's the better team.
Yeah. Moving on to the second one, it's St. Mary's versus Alabama, 5-4 here. Um, I have Alabama moving on here, just strictly on just talent alone here. I just think that when you look at a team like St. Mary's, they're okay. But I think you have to consider their level of competition in Alabama's, and there's just nothing to compare here. But like you said, if Alabama's not running that offense effectively and they're shooting the shot quick in the shot clock like they are accustomed to doing, and it's not falling, danger, 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 danger. So I don't have a problem with anybody picking St. Mary's here, but I picked Alabama just because of that. But I'm not gonna even be surprised if I'm wrong on this. But that's why I'm leaning towards them.
Yep, another little disagreement here. I got St. Mary's. I got St. Mary's beating Alabama solely on defense. Alabama doesn't play defense. Pretty sure they just stay on the other side of the court anytime that that team has possession. St. Mary's is known for their defense, and they're known for the 3-point shooting. If they shoot well and they can play halfway decent defense, I think St. Mary's wins this, and I think that they're gonna shoot well because Alabama doesn't play defense.
All right. I mean, we'll see if they turn it up at all. I just don't know. I mean, don't play defense against SEC teams. Don't play defense against WCC. And I don't know. I just feel like it's just kind of different. But I feel you on that though. I really do. I really it's I'm gonna be seated. I will be seated to watch that. There's no way that I'm not. I mean, it's gonna be a good game.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that one. I will, like you said, not going to be surprised at all if Alabama wins that
Yeah.
one.
This next matchup, I feel like we might disagree with a little bit here. But New Mexico, Baylor. Um, Baylor's a good team.
Good team.
Has a couple guys on there that are dangerous. Um, they've lost a couple questionable games. But they've also won some games that help bolster their resume. But when you look at New Mexico and kind of their body of work, they beat who they're supposed to, and they beat San Diego State, because of the way that they played defensively and how poorly Letty shot the ball. You're gonna need some help here. Um, I think Baylor just might be a little bit too much. I like New Mexico here. I wanted to pick them here. I really did. I just couldn't wrap my mind around them having the momentum to continue against a team that I just think finds a way to escape this. I think this is a really tight game. It has no business being a tight game when you look at the seeding numbers here, but this is a matchup that doesn't really benefit Baylor, and that's why I think that I'm not surprised that a lot of people have New Mexico beating the Bears here in the second round.
Yeah, so I have New Mexico. And the reason I have New Mexico is because I wanted to pick them, and I didn't let my brain keep me from doing that. I went with the heart, and my heart says that Jalen House is going to go on a run this year, and that's really all I can say about it. Because you're right, Baylor's the better team. They're a better shooting team. They're better on defense. They better at rebounding. They're probably better looking. I mean, like it's everything in between. Baylor is just much better than New Mexico, but Baylor doesn't have Jalen House. And that's how I feel about it at this point with New Mexico.
But they do have a Jalen. They do have a Jalen, and it's Jalen Bridges.
Here's my thing about New Mexico. They're the exact team that makes a run at these kind of at March, right? Because they're so fast. They're so fast, and they don't turn the ball over. And they have a guy that is special who is destined to make a run. I have New Mexico winning this. When I first did my bracket, I had Baylor. I switched it to New Mexico just yesterday. Where it's a toughie. It's a toughie. I have New Mexico.
Okay.
This game probably going to be the best game to watch. Hopefully it happens. We're expecting it to happen. This is going to be the best game to watch in the West.
Okay, well, I'll give you the worst game to watch, and it's going to be the next one I mentioned here, Nevada, Arizona. I know you've got Dayton here. But if it's Nevada, Nevada's getting cookity schmucked, and I think that's what leads Arizona in my bracket to play Baylor here in this instance. But you've got Dayton here, right? So I mean, do you have Dayton throwing out the Wildcats here in the round of 32, or did you stay strong with Zona? Because I'm gonna be honest, we didn't even mention that Arizona was playing Long Beach State. Do we need to bring that up?
I might have picked Long Beach State.
Whoa! Whoa!
I might have picked Long Beach State.
Bad, bro. Like I just don't.
That's exactly why I picked them, because I had to pick a 15. I had to pick a 15, and I'm looking at Arizona. And I'm like, ooh, Arizona. That's a team that loses games they shouldn't lose.
Oh my
God.
I mean,
so
you've got Long Beach State playing Dayton. So you've got Dayton playing New Mexico in the Sweet 16. Is that what you're telling me?
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
Oh my God! It's a thing. Here's the thing: is like no one's ever right on these, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like stupid choice. Anybody filling out a bracket is making a stupid choice.
Oh wait, no.
Oh no!
I have Long Beach State making it to the Sweet 16.
Oh my God, Zach, are you okay, brother? Like, are you smoking that good Zaza? Because I'm on some shit, but that has got to be some good shit. You are high as balls. No way, dog. What are those? What are even the Sweet 16 odds for that team? It's got to be astronomical.
1.4%.
Well, hey. Saying there's a chance, and in March anything is possible.
No one picked Farley Dickinson last year. I'm just
it's true. No, it's true. I'm not saying it's impossible, but is this?
Here's my reasoning. Someone's gonna have to pick them, right?
You just like them because they're the dirt bags. You just like them because they're the dirt bags. You're just like, I just want to say the dirt bags.
Arizona. I always have. I just hate it.
I don't like them either. I'm an Oregon. You think I like them? Come on, man. I don't like them, but come on. They'll turn it up. Jesus. Wow. That's unbelievable. But so you're
not gonna like who I have in the Final Four. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's Long Beach State, folks. No, it's look, I've got Arizona, Baylor. You've got New Mexico and Long Beach State here. I don't. It's a different route. It's a real different route. But look, my thought process here is I just think Arizona's got some guys on their team that just got a little bored at the end of the season, and I think they'll be fine. Caleb Love's a baller. Ballo's a baller. And I just don't think Baylor can handle that. You don't think Baylor can handle New Mexico. They're not going to be able to handle Arizona for sure. So I think Arizona probably smokes them. Go ahead and just go through your thought process here as you just completely just got, wow. Just
went off the rails in the West.
We were doing so well. What happened? This is to
be fair, the top half of the West I have pretty normal.
Yeah, you do.
Um, but yeah, I got New Mexico and Long Beach State. Not much I can say about Long Beach State besides the fact that they got kind of hot at the end of the year. Looking at, I had to look up reasons to justify me picking Long Beach State because the only real reason I picked it is because I wanted to have fun. And somebody has to pick them. Um, Long Beach State forces a turnover on 19% of their opponents' possessions in the last month. They're getting hot, and they're grabbing offensive boards at a 35% rate. I like it. It's a good. Those are good stats.
Yeah, and but
But
here's
they're
the
not better than
and
Arizona, so I'm relying on heart.
yeah, I mean this. Ooh.
It's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I mean, the thing that makes Long Beach State interesting is because they are good at keeping teams from scoring, right? They slow teams down a lot, but they don't shoot the three at all, which is kind of interesting because most of these teams, if you want to give yourself a chance, you go with a team that can get hot from three, but their offense is one dimensional and it's inside for Traore. Like Traore is like their offense, and he's also their defense. And I think that that's big time. I mean, you look at some of their wins. I mean, Long Beach State beat Michigan. That's big time for them. They beat USC. I think this was probably before Bronny was healthy enough to play though.
They almost beat San Diego State.
Yes, they only lost by 12. It
Yeah,
was
they all were close game until the end.
Yeah, so so that that gives you some hope that they can be competitive. Arizona has had some shocking, losses and defeats, including my Oregon Ducks just absolutely just plastering the absolute ball sack out of them. Washington State beat them. Florida Atlantic beat them by 1. Purdue beat them by 8. I don't really see a lot of good things when it comes to Arizona and like really good teams, but when it comes to Arizona and really bad teams, they do all right. So
Yeah.
I can see where you're going at. It's just things are gonna have to line up perfectly for them to be the
Oh
15
yeah.
seed that moves on. So I mean, I like the pick. I like the guts. I've always been
I
really
mean,
I'm gonna
I
be
want to
rooting for you.
mention I want to mention that a big reason why I picked them too is since their coach has already been fired. Um, and fuck it, I want to see that guy go on a run, a little fuck you run. Why not?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Let's get emotional. I get it.
And his thing, and this Long Beach State pick relies entirely on chance because I'm thinking about them getting turnovers, and that's chance really. So
yeah. So in my, you know, Elite Eight here, I've got Arizona and North Carolina. I've got North Carolina cruising over the Wildcats. Who have you got from the West region going to the Final Four?
North Carolina.
Okay,
I
so
have them beating New Mexico.
okay, I mean, so we end up at the same result here. It's just the friends we make along the way are a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really about the 15 seeds that we root for on the way. That's
yeah,
that's important, right?
yeah. And that leads us to the South region. This is a region with Houston as the 1 seed here. They play Longwood in round 1. We already mentioned the phallic, consistency of phallic teams
Yes,
uh,
and the money's on it. The
doing.
money's on that.
Yeah, the money is on Longwood. Um, they've got some decent pieces. Um, they only lost to Dayton by 9, but they've lost to Winthrop. They've lost to High Point. But they've also beat High Point 2 more times after that, one by 1 point and one by 2 points. So I don't know really how much stock to really put in Longwood. I've got them losing. I'm sure you don't. Or oh no, you
No,
do. They're not the
I don't
16
like
seed you
Houston.
chose.
I
Unbelievable.
don't like Houston, but I have them going a couple more rounds.
Yeah, you don't hate Kelvin Sampson that much. I mean, you
I,
can't. I mean, he at least gave you Hollis Price. I mean, you can't hate him too much. Um,
I
but
wish he would have looked like this at OU.
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Because he was definitely more of a Tony Bennett, slow offense guy, half court set when he was at OU.
And that's exactly what Longwood is, by the way. It is one of the most fundamental teams in this
Yeah.
tournament.
So
Houston.
yeah, it's gonna be a battle, but I just think Houston's just too talented. I think they kind of roll here.
Yeah.
The second matchup here. Nebraska, Texas A&M, give me the Cornhuskers. I love their shooting guard. Tominaga is killing it right now, and he's having his own. And I know I know this probably won't go over well, but he's having a little insanity run here, and I'm like here for it. And like that's not a race thing; it's just happening.
Hold on. Linsanity. Why'd you choose
Yeah,
Linsanity?
I don't know. I don't know. It just
But that is the correct term to use. I mean, we say Linsanity for anybody that's going on a
yes,
run.
exactly,
Not an idiot.
exactly.
Um,
And you can go back in the VODs and check. They're there. The proof is in the pudding.
yeah, they have to win this one because I got to see the run. I got to see the little Curry Davidson run that we're about to get from Japanese Curry here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think Texas A&M stinks, and I think that's the bigger thing is I think this is one of those things where, like we said, the Big Ten's just a sliver above the SEC and overall, talent pool. I think it's definitely both are definitely dominated heavily by like two teams that are like really good in their conferences, and the rest of them are kind of meh. And I think Nebraska's not anything special, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I think both of us have the Cornhuskers moving on here as the 8th seed. Another Big Ten team in this bracket as well, Wisconsin, the 5 seed, playing James Madison. Don't necessarily love this matchup for Wisconsin. They are another one of those teams that is hot and cold. They have some kind of things on their schedule. I mean, you look at but then again, it's one of those things where they lose to teams they're supposed to lose to, beat teams they're supposed to beat. Michigan State, they beat Purdue once, but you lose to Illinois twice. You lose to Purdue 2 other times. You lose to Arizona. They beat Marquette, early on in the season here. I don't think Kolek was playing that game. I think he was hurt, so I think you have to kind of factor that into that Marquette win a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I just you look at JMU, and the only thing you can say is the team puts up some points, man. 79 points in a win against Michigan State, 113 points. I mean,
Yeah.
82 against Southern Illinois, 68-61 over Louisiana. That's the lowest scoring game I'm looking at right now. 91 points against Arkansas State, 73 against Akron. 2 games against Appalachian State, which they lost both of those, Zach, which kind of,
That's the only red flag, though. Like,
Yeah.
when you really think about it, is losing to App State probably just a weird matchup for them. I don't know. I'm not going to act like I tuned into those games.
Yeah.
But App State's not a great team.
No, I picked Wisconsin to win this game, but this is one of those games that I feel like is going to come down to a less than 10-point game here with 2 minutes to go, and we're going to have a little bit of a push from JMU. And if they win this game, there is like 50% or more of the country that has a bracket where JMU is winning this game. There has to be because that's just what Wisconsin does.
And I'm in that 50%. I have JMU winning this game. I think Wisconsin, like you said, is not going to stay consistent. And I think JMU is extremely consistent. They have 3 losses on the season. 2 of them are to the same team. They have lost to 2 teams this entire year. I don't think Wisconsin is going to be one of those teams. James Madison should move on to get their ass kicked by Duke.
Yeah, speaking of Duke, the next team, they're playing Vermont, and this is not the Vermont team of the past. This Vermont team stinks, brother. I mean, it is bad. And I think Duke, as mediocre as they've been, I think they get the job done and beat the Catamounts.
Yeah. Just nothing to say there. Duke is better.
Yeah, they're just better. This next one is also an interesting one. NC State, one of the hottest teams in the country, playing Texas Tech. Look, I'm leaning on my Big 12 bias here. I like the story of NC State. I like what they've done. It's not enough. I'm sorry. It's just this is where the run ends. I think that this Texas Tech team is focused enough to beat this team. A lot of people are picking NC State because of the role they're on and because of the way Texas Tech has been playing of late. They don't mesh. It definitely leans towards the Wolfpack beating them, but I won't let it happen. Give me my Red Raiders. I think they get it done. I think they squash kind of the concept that this NC State team is a second round beat Kentucky type of team. I don't think that's them. I think you have Texas Tech moving on here.
Yeah, I am going NC State. Just because, like you said, it's the run. When I do my bracket, I always look at teams' records in their last 10 games, usually in their last month at least. NC State's got that. They won the ACC tournament. They needed to win the ACC tournament just to get in, and they did. I think they show up in big moments. I'm not super high on Tech. The only thing I will say is that this isn't a great matchup for NC State, only because Tech, high profile offense in the Big 12, where defenses are actually good, versus NC State playing in the ACC, having one of the worst defenses in the country, and still being able to squeak out a conference win. I'm leaning NC State because they're on a roll, and I just feel like if the money's on NC State, then Vegas is going to find a way to pay those refs. So I think NC State's going to make it. I'm kind of thinking about switching that up now, honestly, just because I'm thinking about the Big 12 offenses and how Tech is still able to put up points, and against those defenses in the Big 12. Fuck it, I'm just going to ride NC State here, but I don't hate the Tech pick at all. In fact, it's probably the correct one.
No, I'll be home for that one, so I'll be locked into that for sure. Kentucky and Oakland. Kentucky. That's all I got to say. Oakland has one of the best looking courts in the country, but that's not going to carry them because this is a neutral site game. So give me the Wildcats. Oakland stinks.
Golden Grizzlies. No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, they stink, dude. They're so bad. They've lost to so many terrible teams. I just, they're another bid stealer team. So I mean, you have to kind of look at that as, I mean, they're just going to get smacked. I mean, Kentucky's not been a cohesive unit as a whole all season long. They kind of have that problem with as many talented guys they have on that roster. They haven't congealed really ever this season, but that's not going to prevent them from beating the Golden Grizzlies.
Yeah, Kentucky just insanely good guards.
Yeah, so that's all. What?
They're running 4 guards.
Yeah, I mean that's something. And that's that could be a recipe for a March run, whether or not a team has been playing well all season, because backcourt wins championships. We know that for sure. Look, this next one, Florida, 7-10. Right now, currently, you have Boise State playing Colorado. Colorado with a 2-point lead, 26-24 right now in the first half. So we don't really know how this is going to go.
Doesn't matter how it goes.
What?
I said it doesn't matter how it goes.
Why? Because you got Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. And you're right. I have Florida as well. Colorado has NBA talent on that roster. A lot of people like Cody Williams a lot. I don't know if he can carry them past an SEC team like Florida. I just don't think the rest of the team is good enough to carry their weight. And I think Florida gets that job done. If it's Boise State, I think it's even less of a conversation, to be brutally honest. The Broncos are okay, but I mean, they're currently not winning. They rely a lot on their main 2 guys to do the work for them. So I think that, looking at this, it's Florida.
I personally just don't see Colorado, or even Boise, but probably Colorado. I just don't see them stopping Florida's offense. Top 20 in the country. I love Cody Williams. I want Cody Williams to be on the Thunder next year. But unfortunately, he's probably going to get picked higher than what our pick will be. I would love to see Colorado go the distance, but I personally actually would probably prefer that they don't, so that Cody Williams can fall to like the 12, 14, 15 range.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Next game, Marquette, Western Kentucky. I've got Marquette winning this one. Western Kentucky's okay, but they're not going to compete here. I think you look at some of their losses and they're just inexcusable. Louisiana Tech of the world, I just can't ride with them. They're just not hot enough. Give me the Golden Eagles.
Yeah. Who's their guy? Tyler
Kolek.
Yeah, Kolek. He it depends on him. If he's healthy, if he plays well, they should cruise through what I think probably to where do I have them going? I think I had them in the Elite. Where are they at? No, I have them losing in the Sweet 16 to Kentucky, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But I like Marquette. I like them. If they played anyone else in the Sweet 16, I'd probably take them.
You want to know something? I've also got Kentucky beating them in the Sweet 16. So you're not the only one that's thinking that the 4 guard thing might be a problem for the Golden Eagles. Anyways,
Yeah.
back to the top here in the South region. Houston and Nebraska. Talk about a matchup that I am looking forward to, but think that Houston is just going to roll. I'm sorry. It probably ends here. Houston just too talented. I just think that they have better guards. Well, one good guard does not equal 2 or 3 good guards, and I think that's kind of where you lose the battle as a Cornhusker.
Yeah, just have to agree there. I would love. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, because I do have Houston winning this one. Um, but isn't this just the perfect setup for a run? I mean, this is just a perfect setup for Japanese Steph Curry to go crazy.
I don't think he's enough. I just don't think. I mean, he could have 50. I think they're still losing. It's
Maybe,
the
yeah.
other guys. It's not him.
I can't agree
And
with
he's
that.
not aggressive enough for my liking. He's not aggressive enough. He
But
doesn't.
he will be in the tournament.
I hope so.
He has to be because that's how they win. That's the only way they can win a game is if he's scoring. He needs to be scoring 25.
Yeah.
At least.
Moving on to this one, James Madison and Duke. I got Duke. I think that as much as people want to say Duke's not the team this year, well, they're the team enough to beat James Madison, and I think that that's what matters in this round. So give me the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say there.
Yeah. Kentucky, I've got Texas Tech, you've got NC State, but we've both got Kentucky moving on here to the Sweet 16. I think that, regardless of whether it's Tech or NC State, Kentucky's 4 guard lineup, the talent, I just think it's going to be too much. For Tech in particular, I think it's going to be, like you said, the struggling to defend those kind of, versatile players, and that's just, they're a little bit deeper talent-wise, even though they haven't, like I said, really had great team chemistry.
Yeah, I agree with that. And coming from the NC State side, they don't have the defense to keep up with Kentucky at all. Their defense is terrible. They have a good offense, and Kentucky's going to have a good enough defense that it won't matter. Yeah.
So
not much to say on that one.
So that's that. Marquette, Florida. I got the Golden Eagles. They're just better.
It's better.
It's Florida. Florida's gonna have a tough time with Boise State or Colorado, but they're not gonna have a chance against Marquette if they play the way they can. I just think Marquette, again, it's one of those situations where I think their schedule and having to play UConn as much as they have and other, and other opponents that they have faced, I think this just kind of just prep them better than Florida's had the chance to have against, their toughest opponents. You look at it and it's like, oh, you lost to Creighton, you lost to UConn, you lost to Purdue, but you beat Kansas and you beat Villanova, you beat Creighton once, and that's kind of what Marquette can say. And on the other side, you have a team in Kentucky who lost to Alabama, lost to Tennessee, which are respectable losses. They've beaten Auburn, they've beaten Texas Tech. They're good. And they score a decent amount of points per game. I just think that they're just not going to be able to hang with a team that's got that, nostalgic, Big East vibe to it, even though that doesn't exist anymore. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, Marquette should win. In fact, I almost picked Marquette to beat Kentucky. So.
Yeah. Moving on to the Sweet 16 here in the South region, Houston and Duke here. I like Houston here. I think Duke is a good team, but I think that the problems people see with them are the problems that they're going to have, which is they're just too inconsistent. And I think that Houston, for the most part, has been pretty consistent, and they've been consistent against good teams. Duke has a negative record against top 25 teams. In conference, the records are comparable. Numbers wise, offensive and defensive, that's where you're going to get the biggest difference. Houston only allows 57 points a game. Duke allows 67. The difference there between points for and points against is drastic. I mean, Houston, you're looking at an average of 73 to 57. Duke, you're looking at an average of 79 to 67. So you're going from, a 16-point differential to a 12-point differential, and I think that that's where you see me picking Houston. I know you do not have that result, but that's why I'm picking the Cougars.
Yeah, I got the Devils. I think that they're just more talented, in my opinion. I mean, not that Houston doesn't have talent; they obviously have talent, but Houston's more of a scheme team, and I think Duke, while obviously coached very well, relies a little bit more on their talent. They have their guys. They have Filipowski, but they also have McCain who can take over any game that he needs to, right? So I'm looking at the options for Duke. I'm seeing more options over here. Um, and I think those are key in the tournament. You got to have guys that are going to step up and rise. And I think McCain's a guy that can average, he can give you 17 a game in this tournament. So I got Duke. Houston's a great team. I do think they're a little too slow to play against, to effectively play against Duke.
Yeah, I mean, look, my big thing is the coaching, right? I think Kelvin Sampson better coach than John Shire. I just think that's kind of going to be the difference here. I think like you said, the benefit of Duke is that right? Is your coach is not really experienced enough to really wrangle in a lot of these young guys that will end up kind of trailing off and doing their own thing because of how talented they are. Kelvin Sampson, I think, has more of a militant do what I say approach, and that's why you say they're a scheme team because they're going to follow his lead and what he wants to do. And I think in the end that benefits Houston. But like you said, if McCain goes off, then I don't know if Houston's got a response other than Shed or Cryer going off, and Cryer's been extremely inconsistent as of late. He's got to really turn up and be the LJ Cryer we know he can be in order to get Houston where I think they can be, which is in my bracket them playing Kentucky. You've got Duke playing Kentucky, and I've got Houston beating Kentucky and moving on. Um, we'll get into that here in a minute. You've got Duke and Kentucky, battle of the blue bloods here. Who have you got moving on to the Final Four out of the South region?
I have Duke. This one was also so tough for me to choose. These teams are so good and they're so talented and they're both kind of, in my opinion. Now, obviously, Kentucky is not just a relying on talent team. They have one of the best coaches in the country. They have one of the best coaches of all time. And the thing about Kentucky is he knows how to coach guards. If you look at recent NBA drafts, all the best guards in the league are from Kentucky these days. Um, I love Kentucky. I really love Kentucky this year. I have Duke. They're too big. They're a bad matchup for a team that runs four guards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's again, it's not. I'm not gonna sit here and really berate you. I think it's just we're kind of to that coin flip kind of area here, and I think that that's why it's so hard to pick some of these games. But that leads us into our final region, Zach. We got the Midwest region coming up here. Purdue leading the way here. They play. They're gonna play Grambling. I've got Purdue winning this game. I don't think this is a 16 seed that's going to get them. Again, tonight Grambling played well enough to beat Montana State, but Montana State was favored in that game. So, and you kind of saw Montana State how they kind of melted down in overtime. And I think that, it came down to Grambling and being able to hit their free throws, and they're a team that can, but it's not going to matter because I think Purdue is going to be able to dispose of the Tigers.
Yeah, no chance Purdue loses this round 2 years in a row. That can't happen, or the coach is fired. So, God, that can't happen. If that happens, I don't. I would love to see what the prop bet is on Purdue being the 1 seed and losing 2 years in a row like that.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
I'm sure
that would
it's
be
I'm sure it's astronomical.
that would be an insane bet to place. But yeah, Purdue runs here. If you know anything about March Madness, that those things don't happen 2 years in a row. So
Yeah.
Purdue. I don't think there's much to say about Grambling State and Montana State at this point. I think Grambling State's the better team.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they did have an unexpected performance from a role player that dropped 20 plus. I don't know if I think that kind of put them over the edge against the Bobcats. I think Montana State was definitely the better team, but I think there's just when a guy's hot like that, there's nothing you can do. And he's a lefty too, and they just kept letting him drive to his left. It was like they had never played a left-handed guy that could shoot. I don't know what it was, but I guess there's nothing else to do than not play defense and be cold up in Montana.
I just think Grambling State is probably just better shooters, not outside.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
outside.
inside, yeah.
That's why I said shooters like that, because they're not good from the
No,
three.
they're not good.
Like, they're good inside. They're good inside. They're good at getting to the line, or they're good at converting.
And it's not going to matter.
Yeah, it's March, but it won't matter.
It won't matter.
But
it won't matter on Friday. That's all we know.
Yeah, like congrats for making it to the round of 64.
First time ever. First time ever. Congrats. Next game is Utah State and TCU. I have the Aggies of Utah State winning this one. I like TCU. I do. I just think Utah State's the better team here. The Mountain West has a big slew of teams that I think are looking to try to get out of this first round that a lot of people probably think they shouldn't, but I think that they're underestimating kind of what these teams out in the Mountain West have been doing all year because they don't really get to see them on TV a lot. They don't get a lot of exposure. And I think that when they do, like you said, like you fell in love with New Mexico's guard house. I think it's easy to fall in love with these guys in the Mountain West, and that's why I'm picking Utah State.
Yeah, same. I got Utah State winning this one. Surprised I didn't take TCU when I first thought of it, but diving into the numbers a little bit, Utah State they look better. I mean, I say they look better, and what I mean by that is they're coached better. I like TCU; they're fine. Utah State has better schemes. Their coach is regarded as one of the better ones in the conference. Fall in love with the guard. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we both have Utah State moving on there. Gonzaga and McNeese. I have Gonzaga. I looked at McNeese's schedule. You can't lose to teams like Louisiana Tech, and you just can't do that. Gonzaga's only lost to teams that they're supposed to lose to: Purdue, St. Mary's, Marquette are three of the teams that they've lost to this season. So I think Gonzaga gets it done. I think that as much as people have been down on Gonzaga, they're not bad enough to where this McNeese State team is going to beat them. But I know what you've got, so let me hear it.
I actually don't have McNeese.
Oh, okay. I was like, you said it early, so I was like, all right, well, so be it.
No, I don't have McNeese. I have Gonzaga winning this one. If it was any other team besides Gonzaga, I probably would have picked McNeese just for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
But I just know that that's not going to happen.
No, yeah, it's.
No, I will say McNeese, really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
They've only lost 3 games on the year. They also don't play Gonzaga.
Yeah,
they don't play Gonzaga.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
It's like all those wins against those.
Yeah, you got 30 wins against like the Tennessee Women's College of Dentistry.
Yeah, it's like your wins against the Raging Cajuns and the Christie Islanders of Texas A&M Corpus Christi really get me going. They got losses to Western Carolina and Louisiana Tech on here. It's like it's like they beat Michigan. Everybody beats Michigan. Michigan had one of the worst seasons. Me and you could like grab 3 guys from the rec down at UCO and probably give Michigan a good game. Okay, but they were not good. Okay, so all these mid-major teams that beat Michigan, quit giving them credit for beating Michigan. It wasn't that big of an accomplishment. They were a disaster up there in Ann Arbor. So I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I have to agree here. Now, what I will say about McNeese.
Cool jerseys,
cool logo. They got the Michigan M in there. I'm pretty sure. I think this is the team I was looking at. They played like a women's college. It's like not actually a women's college, but it's just funny to look at the schedule and see like university, whatever, college for women. Like, and you look at the schedule and you're like, what? I mean, it's looking like a Michigan football schedule back in 1890.
Yeah. Like, it's not looking good.
Whoa, who'd y'all play? Y'all played a high school?
Yeah, and you lost.
You lost. Good. You lost 6-2 to a high school, Michigan.
Ooh, not good. Yeah, I would have been fired too. And that leads us into this 4-13 matchup between Kansas and Samford. Obviously, Jalen McCullough not playing for Kansas is big news when it comes to how far people probably have Kansas going. They're probably changing it rapidly right now. But I have Kansas moving on even with or without him. Samford's just bad. They're not a 13 seed you should be afraid of. And trust me, we've seen those, and we've told you about them, and this is not one of them.
Yep. I have to agree with that. Not much to add there. Kansas is a better team. I originally, yes, had them going to the Final Four. I now have them not going to the Final Four.
Yeah. That's the jump, right? Like that's probably the jump that's expected. And that's why I have Kansas moving on as well. Next game on
paper.
Say what?
Really think I think Kansas is probably the best team in the country on paper.
Oh yeah,
but
just don't let them play Houston ever. But except for in the Final Four. Next game on the list here, South Carolina and my Oregon Ducks. Give me the Ducks, baby. We are hot right now. South Carolina is kind of on a downward trajectory right now. This is a perfect spot for my Ducks to win a game they're not supposed to. We've got talent. We've got guys that have done things, but you look at the schedule and boy, have we lost to some bad teams. I mean, we are not great when we are supposed to be, and you know the thing about South Carolina is you look at their losses and it's not extremely bad losses. You're looking at Auburn, Tennessee, and Alabama. Those are not bad teams to lose to. They're not the only teams they lost to, but they're the teams they lost to the most. We're talking about a 26-7 South Carolina team playing a 23-11 Oregon team. Record-wise, not a lot of differentiation here. It's going to come down to strength of schedule here, and obviously the SEC way better than the Pac-12. But I'm riding the hot hand here, and that's why I'm picking the Ducks.
I'm picking the Ducks. I'm riding the hot hand, just like you said. I think the hot hand is favored in March. They beat Arizona. That's good. Arizona's a great team.
Like, it didn't just beat them. Like, we cooked them.
Exactly. And I think Oregon showed that they really can excel at that level and compete with the big boys on offense and the defensive level. I have Oregon. I don't have Oregon in any others, but I have Oregon in this one.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the feeling I have as well. Next matchup is Creighton and Akron. I have the Blue Jays slipping past the Zips here. A lot of people like Akron in this spot. I understand why. They don't match up well. Creighton does with Akron. I think that the matchup there you have to kind of factor into. But you look at the losses that they highlight here for Akron, and it's Toledo, James Madison, St. Bonaventure, UNLV, Utah State, and Drake. And most of the teams I mentioned there are tournament teams. And the two wins that are in this little analysis on the Tournament Challenge app is Ohio and Toledo, which does nothing for me. I think that this is definitely a game that Creighton should handle and easily move on.
Yeah, I have Creighton winning this one as well. I will say one thing about this matchup is it's really interesting because Creighton obviously relying on the three-point shot a little bit more than most teams. Akron is top 12 in the country defending the three.
Against the competition.
Against the competition, which is really important because I think this is the reason that people have Akron in this matchup so heavily because they're so good at defending the three-point line, but they're also,
in the MAC.
In the MAC. And I'm not even sure if the three-point line's regulation in the MAC. I mean,
yeah, we scooted it up a little bit because, boy, there were no points scored.
Yeah, so I'm 24-10 in a MAC schedule. Not happy about it. You got to go Creighton.
Yeah, I agree. Next on the list here is Texas and Colorado State. I'm just going to say it. Give me the Rams, baby. I am riding the hot hand, and Ali Faroukanesh is an assistant there for the Rams. I've been following him on Twitter for a while before any of this happened, and I just like the way they play. You looked at the way they just absolutely just packed the shit into the anus of Virginia in the first four, and it's just glaring to me that Texas does not match up well with this team. It's a problem. They're not playing their best basketball right now. Give me the Rams.
I'm just going to tell you, I just switched my pick from Texas to Colorado State after that. I think you're right. I think you're right. Originally, I was just thinking, I was like, I don't like Texas, obviously. Fuck Texas. Texas sucks. And I hate them. But I hate them a lot. I want to iterate that. I really, really hate Texas.
If this were
But
Virginia, it would be Texas. That's all I'm saying. If it were Virginia, it would be Texas. Yeah,
Colorado State is a good team. And I think they showed they were a good team that didn't belong in that first four, or that last four in thing, right? So give me Colorado State, give me the Rams. I had Texas originally just because they were supposed to be so good and they're so much better on paper. But like you said, Texas has been shit lately and Colorado State has been great lately. So I gotta go Colorado State.
Yeah, we're about to get wild here. Look, Tennessee.
We're about to get wild?
Yeah, Tennessee, St. Peter's. I've got Tennessee. This is not the St. Peter's of the past. I love it. I love the Peacocks. Give me the Cocks, but I'm just not picking them this time. I think, yeah, I think Rick Barnes is gonna finally do something right and beat a first round team with Tennessee and get over that hump that seems to be, eluding him. It's not real. I mean, they got past the first round a couple years ago, but I'm just saying it just seems like it's like, oh, they're gonna be good, and then they're just, they don't get to the Sweet 16. You're like, what happened? But I'm picking Tennessee, the 2 seed to beat the 15. Again, I think your most lethal 15 seed is probably South Dakota State this year, and I don't think that's going to be enough. But that's your best 15 seed. None of the rest of them really matter. So give me Tennessee.
Interesting stat of this matchup. Rick Barnes is currently 27-27 in the NCAA March Madness tournament.
Get my man over 500.
Yeah, he has to win it over 500. I think Tennessee is going to pull this one out. They should. They obviously should.
Yeah.
Not the one.
Yeah. So
I will say, this is a really good Tennessee team. Best team they've had in a long time. I got them going pretty far.
Okay, I don't blame you. Round of 32 here in the Midwest bracket. Going back to the top here, Purdue and Utah State. I have got the Boilermakers, the run-ins for the Aggies here in the second round, and it's just due to Zach Edey just being too much. I think that's kind of where they just don't have an answer for him. This isn't TCU, this is Purdue. So I think that's kind of where we're at there in that one.
Yeah, I'm just going to spoil it. There are no surprises for me coming in this round of 32. I got all the middle.
Okay.
All chalk on this.
Yeah, I have Kansas beating Gonzaga, so we both agree on that. I think that's even without McCullough, it's Big 12 versus it's talent versus talent here, and I think you just kind of have to move them along. Creighton and Oregon, I've got the Blue Jays disposing of my Ducks. Unfortunately, I think we just we can't shoot the ball well enough consistently to beat a team like that. We've got better size than them. We've got better athletes than them. It won't be enough.
If Creighton were focused more on the inside, focused more on their bigs,
it'd be different.
It'd be a matchup for Oregon, but Creighton's letting that thing fly.
Yeah, they're winning by double digits, folks. Don't even worry. If this spread is under 10, take Creighton to win by like 10 or plus. It's just gonna get ugly. Okay, I'm a Ducks fan. I'm telling you, I'm wearing my Oregon Ducks shorts. It's gonna get ugly. Okay, it's not gonna be pretty for me. I'm gonna be a disaster, but it'll be an expected disaster, so I won't be too much of a mess. And this is where we get crazy for me. Colorado State, Tennessee, give me the Rams. I am riding the hot hand. Rick Barnes shits the bed again, baby. We're going 28-28 as a record in the NCAA tournament for Rick Barnes. He gets over the hump, but then loses it after the Rams dispose of Tennessee. Look, I've got this matchup simply because of two reasons. A, I'm riding the hot hand. B, look at Tennessee and look at some of the shortcomings here. It's not pretty. I mean, it's really not. And March has not been favorable to Rick Barnes. I don't know what happens to his teams. But if Tennessee moves on, it will not be an easy game for them. This is going to be a close game. This is going to be nip and tuck, and it's going to have to come down to Tennessee making plays in the end. I don't have them making the plays. Zach does, and that's what it's going to come down to here, is this is going to be a close game. If you think this is going to be a blowout, you are absolutely out of your mind.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close game, too. I have Tennessee winning it because of the defense. Just a better team first. I want to point that out. I think no one's going to disagree with me there that Tennessee is just the better team. But Colorado State has the explosive offense. They have the hot hand. And like you said, Rick Barnes is not the best coach when it comes to the tournament. So I have Tennessee winning this one. I think that their guys are going to handle it as long as they don't have super long off. Like as long as they don't go 10, 12 minutes without scoring.
Like,
You know,
yeah,
having
in the
like
SEC tournament when they got cooked, I mean, you cannot have people shooting 1 of 12 from 3. I mean, if that's what happens, Colorado's winning this by 40.
exactly. And as long as that doesn't happen, I think they should take care of it because their defense is so good that they're going to hold Colorado State pretty low. It's all about the offense here for the Volunteers. They should win it.
Yeah, they should. I'm not debating that. I'm just telling you why I'm
Yeah,
riding with the Rams here.
I don't blame you. And honestly, my heart tells me to go with the Rams, but I'm
Yeah,
thinking on this.
no, just play it safe. It's fine. Up at the top, Purdue, Kansas. This is where I have Kansas bowing out here. I think the loss of McCullough hurts here the worst. I think this is where you feel that pain if you're a Jayhawks fan. Look, Purdue, we can poke fun all we want. We know what's happened to them this season. Even, I mean, the games that they have lost, they didn't lose to great teams. It wasn't like oh, you lost to Wisconsin. In my opinion, not a great team. But I think that this is where it ends though. I think Hunter Dickinson, he's not gonna be able to handle Edie, bro. Edie's gonna cook him. I just don't, unless you get him into foul trouble. I don't see how the Jayhawks pull this out. So I have the Boilermakers here.
Yeah, I got the both. Or no, yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure. I was like, I had the Boilermakers, I think, but I was like, for some reason, I feel like I chose Kansas, but I didn't. I was like, wait a minute, did I choose wrong? No, Sweet 16, yeah, I have the Boilermakers. I originally had Kansas,
But
but now,
I think that news kind of hurts. Um,
yeah. So,
this other game we have here, you've got Tennessee Creighton, I've got Colorado State Creighton. Give me the Blue Jays. I think Creighton gets the date to get slaughtered by Purdue. I think they're the one who draws that unfortunate short stick. Um, I mean, you've got Tennessee here. I take it. You have Tennessee
yeah.
Purdue. What are your thoughts on that matchup if that were to come to fruition here?
So first with Creighton and Tennessee, the only
Yeah.
reason I have Tennessee in this matchup is because Creighton shoots the ball so much, and Tennessee is good at guarding the three. I have them there just for that reason. And I think they're the better team. I also have Tennessee beating Purdue.
Okay.
I'm pretty high on Tennessee. The reason I'm so high on Tennessee is because they have so many options on offense, and their defense is so good that I feel like someone's going to get it done no matter what. I think with Tennessee, as long as you don't have moments like you did in the tournament where you're not scoring for a long time, you have guys going 1 for 12. As long as two guys don't go 1 for 12, they should be fine because they have so many different options on offense. Some people can step it up. They're not the best shooting team. They'll make up for it inside, and their defense is so much better that I have them winning. I think, and one of the big reasons that I have Tennessee winning this matchup against Purdue is just because I know about Purdue, and I know what to do with Purdue. Purdue is just simply not the team that you want to bet on making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum here because I have Creighton and not Tennessee here. I've got Purdue making it to the Final Four here, kind of overcoming obstacles. I think of it the same way I think of Virginia that year. They lost to UMBC and then won the national championship the year after. Now, I don't have Purdue winning the national championship here, which we'll get to here in a minute, but I do have them getting over that hump and at least getting to the Final Four and having a little bit of confidence reinstated into what Matt Painter and that team has done.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I can see Purdue.
You can see it more if you're playing Creighton. Is all you need to say. Is you can see that more if they're playing Creighton.
Is what I really want to say, but I can see Purdue squeaking out a national title this year. I really can. And I think it's just because Zach Edey is so dominant. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. So here we go. Final Four. Glendale, Arizona. First matchup here. UConn, North Carolina. I have the Huskies beating the Tar Heels here. You have the same thing on your side. UConn as well.
Yes. This one honestly wasn't hard for me.
Yeah, I felt the same way. North Carolina's been good in the past. I just don't think RJ Davis is good enough to carry that team as far as it needs to be. They just don't have enough pieces in comparison. Like Klingon is too good. It just they've got so many pieces down there or up there, I should say, in Connecticut. I don't see a team that's like really well equipped to handle that, especially if they've got their focused mind on getting a job done.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
have to agree
so
with
give
that.
us the Huskies. Give us the Huskies, folks. We both
Yeah,
got the Huskies. They're heading to the
I mean,
national title game.
they're just so good.
They're good. They're good.
They're so
They're not they're not women's Huskies team good, but they're like Kimball Walker Huskies good. Like they seem like an unstoppable force. So you're gonna have a real big problem stopping.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, I'm tuning into the women's tournament more than I am the men's tournament.
I think a lot of
Straight.
people are. I think a lot of people are, but I won't be one of them. Unfortunately, I could give a
I
shit.
I I will, just because I think that
I'll tune into like the Elite Eight on probably, but I'm not gonna pay attention to the first two rounds.
I just want to, and I say this just because I want to watch Caitlin Clark average 40 in the tournament. That's really, and just transparency, I have Iowa winning that bracket.
Okay, and no surprise there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a South Carolina stan, but we're out here.
Respect.
Um, other side for me, I've got Houston, Purdue. You've got Kentucky, Tennessee. You've got an SEC matchup. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. You have Duke, Tennessee. Excuse me, Duke, Tennessee. I've got Houston, Purdue here. I've got the Cougars heading to the national title to play UConn and get smacked. What have you got as far as Duke and Tennessee here?
I have Duke.
Really? I mean, and the thing is you say that, and I'm gonna kind of cut you off here, but like one of the guys at the station here locally is a Duke guy, and he was like, I couldn't get myself to get them past the Elite Eight. He's like, I couldn't make them a Final Four team. I love my Blue Devils; they're just not good enough. What gives you the confidence here? I can see the confidence over a team like Tennessee because of the factors I mentioned, but let's play devil's advocate here and say it is Purdue and Duke here. Do you feel the same way if that were the matchup, or you think that Filipowski just gets swamped by Edie and it's just too much, or do you think that McCain can continue to what you think is going to happen, average 17 plus, and kind of carry the or kind of take the weights off of Filipowski's shoulders as far as the offensive load goes?
The reason that I have Duke winning this one is because I think Filipowski is going to be able to handle Edie. Not Edie. I don't know why I'm saying Edie. I think he's going to be able to handle. I'm just thinking of Purdue so much
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm
Sorry,
like,
sorry, that's my fault.
it's like I'm just like Purdue should be here instead of Tennessee. Realistically, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But Filipowski should be able to handle the Tennessee defense just because they're not as strong on the inside as they are on the outside. Tennessee's got some big guys. Tennessee's, but Filipowski is so much better. And like you were talking about, I'm down myself now because I was so high on Tennessee. But I have to stick with Duke.
Yeah, I mean, if what you say happens, then I don't disagree. You know what I'm saying? Like, if what you say and your expectations hit, then like I can't disagree with that. But I think both of us have, regardless, it's UConn.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm confident that Jerry McCain is going to be able to get me 17, right? I'm really confident he can do that. And if he does that, I think Duke can make it all the way to this national title. God, I'm really, really relying on him a lot for this one.
I mean, it's a theory. I mean,
the only reason I'm doing this is because he's so popular amongst like the college basketball world. McCain is that I just feel like this is his setting.
Yeah,
This is McCain's setting.
but
Like he wants the big stage. He performs better when everyone's watching.
Yeah, he's got to because he's not even a top 4 scorer on that starting lineup. I mean, and so I think like you said, if he's a gamer and likes the pressure, then yeah, I think this is prime for him. But he's gonna have to do that to get you what you want there. And is that a big ask? If what you say is true, no. But I think in general, I think this has a chance to be an all forward 1 seed kind of Final Four, which unfortunately is pretty chalk, but I think that because of NIL, because of recruiting and having it harder and having the transfer portal, I think we are kind of transitioning into closer to the early on women's game where these better teams are just better and there's really not much animosity. But you look at our brackets as a whole here, and the animosity is the first 2.5 rounds. I think that's where you have some of these surprises, but in the end, the dominant teams will prevail. And I think that this is one of those years for the first time where that seems a little bit more apparent than it has in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like my bracket's not chalk as well. I have 2 1 seeds, and then I have Tennessee in my 2 seed, and my lowest seed is the 4 seed, but it's also Duke, so it doesn't really count as a 4 seed. Um, Pretty chalk. I feel like this is a chalk year. This isn't a year for a Cinderella run.
Yeah, and that's saying something because I mean, last year I didn't really feel like that either, and boy, did we get surprised. I mean, but
Yeah.
I think the odds of how crazy it was last year, I think something's got to balance it out, and this year is probably going to be that year to balance it out.
Yeah, I have to agree. And like, what better way to balance out, the whole parity thing that we supposedly had last year than a repeat? Like, let's just keep college basketball the way it was before NIL. You have 5 schools that are good, and we just cycle the championships through them, and then occasionally you get like an OU run, and occasionally you get like you get fuck it, I don't know, Tech, and then like
Yeah, like I just
I
don't. Yeah, like there's no chance of like a 16 or 15 seed this year. I say no chance. Like I said, South Dakota State probably your best chance, but I mean like it's still so
Long Beach
slim.
State, Long Beach State, baby.
You're praying the dirt bags, baby, the dirt bags.
I want that. There's a dirt bed that makes it to the Sweet 16 every year, and it's Long Beach State, baby.
Well, hey, we kind of got through it pretty quick. 2 hours, not too bad.
Not
Do
terrible.
go ahead and give me your final thoughts here before we call it here.
UConn is the best team in the country. Houston's the second best team in the country, but they're gonna fold. They're gonna fold under pressure. How about them Huskies? I mean, that's all you really can say. What a team! What a team! And what a dynasty that this coach is going to put together if they keep on this run.
Yeah, I second that, and also ride the Rams, baby. Let's fucking go, baby. Let's fucking go. I'm ready for Ali Faroukanesh to make another
Hey,
run.
remember when Colorado State were the villains in college football?
Yeah, I do remember that. Good times.
Okay, we love them in the we
Yeah,
love them
but
in
yeah.
March. We love them in March.
Woo! All right, everybody, you enjoy your March Madness. Enjoy this video. Hopefully, it helps you out a little bit. And we will see you for episode 61. We'll have reactions to the first, couple rounds here, and we'll kind of give you where our brackets stand, how they're doing, and we'll keep you updated and kind of tell you where we think this train is headed. For Will, Zach, here at Stoner Sports Radio Podcast, keep stick on the ice.
Hey, we're getting close to 69.
That's right, baby.